compromise for the sake of greater good, how to work as a team. It's very important. How to avoid suspicion, how to make sure that we don't ourselves spread, rumors. There are many things that we have to learn. Not just learn, learn and practice. Yes.
Sheikh, you mentioned that no one's going to say you are the Imam, but we don't follow you. But I think we have some texts where they say La hajata lana bika ya ibn Fatima, or go back, or we don't need you now, or something like that.
Not the Shia. Because Shia could not say you are Imam and we don't follow you. Shia say you are not Imam. Those who are not Shia, you say, we don't believe in Imam. But to be son of Fatima is not defining the issue, because they say, yes, you are Sayyid, you are son of Fatima, but we don't need you. But if they are Shia, they don't accept Imam. Yes.
I have two questions. The first one was about, you mentioned how a leader normally wouldn't make a clear mistake, and if he does, it will be known to everyone.
Yes.
And the ulama will discuss it.
Or at least, it's not everyone, at least 90% of people.
Okay, how about if you have a leader, for example, and...
But these are the leaders that are, in the first place, legitimate leaders. Not any leader in the world. I'm talking about Islamic leaders. Yes.
Okay, and for example, only a few people know about it.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because the experience that they have had, the oppression, for example, that leader has done, it was addressed to a group of people, and obviously because the leader would normally have power and the media and everything, so this wouldn't spread to everyone. But there are a group of people who say, okay, I know and I saw that this person did this to me. So this is a injustice that has happened. However, not everyone knows about it because it was directed to one or
But is this that clear that if everyone was aware of it would accept? Or many people say you are making this mistake, or there is not enough evidence? Because if someone says he has done zulm to me, yes, this always happens. Whenever a leader makes a decision, some people may say, like judge. Normally, when judge makes a decision, one side is not happy. Either both sides are not happy, or at least one side is not happy. And he says, zulm has been done to me. This is not enough. The case has to be a matter of sun in the middle of a sky. For example, if God forbid, if you see that person is drinking wine, obviously, this is a clear mistake. If you see he is doing zina, obviously, not that he's with a woman that you don't know, maybe his wife, If there is obvious sin, but justice, injustice, making political decision right or wrong, these are all subject to lots of interpretations. And always in politics, you would find some people who are very strong about their position, the leader has made mistake. This always happens. So it must be a matter of like sun in the middle of a sky. When we say clear, means something that you just need to open your eye to see. Not something that, you or only a percentage of people think in that way.
Okay, my other question was about the verse that the 4 points. So here, once I was discussing this with my friend, Atiyullah wa Atiyullah Rasulullah wa minkum. So he said that Allah, you have obedience to Allah, and you have obedience to the Rasul, and on al-amr you don't have obedience, and the reason for that is because you would follow the ulul amr as long as they are following what the Prophet says. So it's not so it doesn't really mean the Imam, as you mentioned, it can be a leader, for example, as long as whatever the Prophet is saying, they're following it. And that's why there isn't a separate ta'ah for them. There is
Atiyullah wa Atiyur Rasul wa ulil amr. There is no separate. Is next to the Prophet. with the same ati'u.
So why do you have another one for ulul amr?
That's the point. This is actually in our favor. Because ati'u is not repeated, so means that level of obedience that you show to Rasulullah as a leader has to be given to ulul amr. That's the point.
But now, of course, this is for the Imam, sallallahu alayhi.
Of course.
Yeah. But because I think
Infallible.
this question sound like about even other leaders,
No,
which are not Ma'soom.
no.
I think, is that
No,
what you mean?
ulul amr here is ma'soom because it's the same ati'u which is for the Prophet. But I wanted to say, I used this opportunity to explain that if leader is ma'soom or not ma'soom, what difference it makes in practice. In practice, it doesn't make that much difference except in exceptional cases. When there is a kind of, obvious mistake that for ma'soom there is no likelihood, for non-ma'soom there is likelihood, but to prove it is very unlikely. If he is a muttaqi, he is adil, he is knowledgeable, he has history, it's very unlikely that he makes obvious mistake. Okay?
There is one question, I don't know if it is a true riwayah or not. I'm told that Imam Zaman comes in Medina, he will hang two people and the bodies will turn fresh. I don't mention names at the moment, but it was chaos. The bodies will turn fresh and then people start crying, say, look, this is a miracle. And this is the bad people that will hang. Is this true? I don't mention names.
I haven't done research on
You
this.
haven't heard this? Just probably a wrong story. Because we hear all sorts of things from the member. So we need to check everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, المراد بأولي الأمر إما من علمت اسمته أو لا. The one whose isma is known or not. Known to be infallible or not. If you say, no, he doesn't need to be ma'soom, الثاني means isma is not proved. No. باطل is false. Why? لاستحالة أن يأمر الله بالطاعة المطلقة لمن يجوز عليه الخطأ. Because it's impossible that Allah says absolutely obey someone that may make sins and mistakes. Jaizul khata is it's possible that he commits mistakes. So تعين الأول means that he must be معصوم. فيكون هو علي بن أبي طالب. If it has to be معصوم, then it has to be Ali. Why? Because as we said before, for no one isma has been claimed. إذ لم تدع العصمة إلا فيه وفي أولاده. Because as I said last week, we need a ma'soom. Who is your candidate? There is no candidate other than Imam Ali. فَتَكُونُوا هُمُ الْمَقْصُودِينَ. So Ali and his infallible children are meant. The same argument repeats in this ayah. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. Be with those who are truthful, صادق. كونوا مع الصادقين. Without any exception. Always be with صادقين. Of course, here we don't have that issue of Rasul being mentioned next to it. So from this aspect, these two ayahs are different. But from the aspect that there is unconditional command for obedience being with them means to obey them, is there. Fifth, Amir al-Mu'minin claimed imamah, and mu'jiza also has happened on his hand. And whoever claims to be imam and brings mu'jiza, he is truthful. Because we said, if he is not truthful, Allah should not have let him to have mu'jiza. Okay? If he doesn't claim he's an imam or prophet, Allah may stop him, may not stop him. But if someone claims that he's imam and then brings mu'jiza, this would be deceiving people if Allah lets a liar to do mu'jiza. Yes?
Did you say about the previous class that the imams don't do mu'jiza, they do kalam?
Okay, here mu'jiza, very good question. Here mu'jiza is meant in broader sense. Because in the technical sense, sometimes you use mu'jiza only for Nabi. But here it is used in a broader sense for Imam as well. Why Amir al-Mu'minin claimed Imamah? What is your reason? It's obvious, Everyone knows Ali claimed that he is Imam and refers, for example, to Khutbah Sheikh and other places. أما أنه ادعى الإمامة فظاهر في كتب السير والتواريخ. In the books on Sirah, about life of the Prophet, in the book of history, it's mentioned what he said. He complained about this issue and he had debate about this. And when Amir al-Mu'minin saw that they don't listen to him, so he claimed, but when they didn't give him hearing, then he sat in home, started doing his work on compiling Quran in a chronological order with commentaries, Sha'n al-Nuzul, and then they went to his home and forced him to come out and give bay'ah, and the whole story. So he claimed imamah, and he had mu'jizat. For example, like removing the gate of Khaybar, talking to dragon, things like this. You have lots of books about these issues. So why then whoever has made claim of imamah and has mu'jiza is sadiq? Because of what happened, we said in Nubuwwah, that when someone does idda'a, claims to be Nubuwwah, to be Nabi, to be prophet, we said Allah should stop him if he's a liar, if he's not honest. The same comes here, if he's imam. Argument 6. Rasulullah qad nassa ala imamin awla. Question. Did Rasulullah designate someone, introduce someone or not? There are two possibilities. Yes or no. If you say no, azabatilu. If you say he didn't designate anyone, this is false. Why? Because it is necessary to guide people in this issue. أَنَّ النَّسَّ عَلَىٰ إِمَامٍ وَاجِبٌ. It's necessary to introduce imam. Why? تَكْمِيلًا لِلدِّينِ. To perfect religion. Religion is perfected when there is leader. And تَعْيِينًا لِحَافِظِهِ. And also you should define who is the protector. If Rasulullah did not observe this necessary obligation of guiding people for leadership, then na'udhu billah, Rasulullah has not done something which was necessary. Secondly, Rasulullah was so kind and so considerate, so merciful with respect to everyone, especially to believers. And he knows about the problems, he knows about differences of opinions. How could Rasulullah keep silent about this issue? Yeah? Really think about it. For a moment, forget you are Shia or Sunni. Is it possible Rasulullah doesn't do any thinking, any planning for something so important? Rasulullah, we had this example. Rasulullah, when put one of his companions, one of the Ansar, in the grave, if I am not mistaken, I think it was Ma'az, if I'm not mistaken. He was so particular about the grave. As if, you are making the guest room in your home. Very particular, that everything has to be perfect. Some people were surprised. We are going to put then lots of, soil on this, and this is a grave. No one is going to visit it. Rasulullah said, لَكِنَّ اللَّهُ يُحِبُّ عَبْدًا. May this be a lesson for me, inshallah, first, and inshallah for you second. I need more. لَكِنَّ اللَّهُ يُحِبُّ عَبْدًا إِذَا عَمِلَ عَمَلًا أَتْقَنَهُ. Yes, this is great, but Allah loves the servant. That when he does something, he does it properly. Please, let us do things properly. I tell myself first. If I study, let us study properly. If I cook, let me cook properly. If I drive, let me drive properly. Everything we should do it properly. So when Rasulullah is so careful about a grave, when he has so many sayings about, tahara, najasa, wuzu, all these things, then can he be thought of like a person who is totally, absent-minded about leadership after him? And takes risks and said, let them decide. It's not possible to accept like this. Especially if you know the challenges that there were there, the verses of the Quran about problems, in Medina, munafiqun, and it's a new community. Communities that have been there for centuries, still they struggle. Rasulullah did not, for example, according to some people, did not say anything about who would be that person, did not even give them any instruction, any procedure. That at least he should have told them, if I die, this is the way you appoint. This is the minimum you should have said. That you, for example, form a council of these people, either by name or by quality, and they will decide and you all follow. He must have said something. It's not that possible that he didn't say anything specifically. He didn't even introduce any procedure, any protocol, and totally left it for chance. This is not possible. So, there must be nas. Yes.
Wanted to ask you, just with regards to the word imam.
Yeah.
The Prophet at any time in his life actually used this word, specific word for Imam Ali, because the ayah mentions wali, mawla, amr, sort of in the Quran, but the actual word of imam. Did the Prophet talk about the imamat or imam as opposed to wali or leadership?
Yeah, for example, Al-Hasan wal-Husayn imaman, qama aw qa'da. He said.
Did he not specify this particularly for Imam Ali?
Yes, I think we have. Pardon? Yeah, imam is mentioned. But the main focus is because of the ayah of wilaya and awlab, and wali. But Imam is also mentioned because it's written in the Quran. جَعَلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا, and we have it also in prophetic hadith.
Sorry, there's an ayah of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam where Allah says that
جَعَلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ.
made you an imam of the people. There's a very
Yeah.
specific ayah related to this.
Yeah.
You could question, is this the same imam as we're talking about with regards to this imamah? And if it is, then why is it that Allah, why is there not a reference to specifically that imamah
In Quran.
in the Quran?
Yeah.
Because it has been said with regards to Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Yeah. We are not discussing imama here because that's taking time. We are talking about this text. But your question is a very good question. And we said that for certain reasons, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has referred to the concept of imama first. And secondly, has given hints to the individuals. Like, for example, الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَهُمْ رَاكِعُونَ. It's a clear hint. Or, for example, the verses about witness. وَيَتْلُوهُ شَاهِدٌ مِّنْهُ وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ عِلْمُ الْكِتَابِ. These are things that we discuss in the Imamah. These are all clear hints. Anyone with a little knowledge knows to whom these verses are. But deliberately, Allah didn't mention Imam Ali by name. Why? It's a matter of testing people. Second, because there was resistance, and if the name of Ali was mentioned in Quran, there was a chance that Quran also would be affected, damaged. When the hadith about Ahlul Bayt were hidden, were concealed, when Rasulullah said, bring something so that I write for you, something that you would not go astray, they said, we don't need Hasbuna kitabullah. Then there was a possibility that Quran could be also in danger. So there is a test, and there is also a matter of keeping Quran away from attack. So there is clear evidence, but even maybe I told you once, I had a discussion with one brother, and he kept asking, where is Imama mentioned in Quran? Where is, for example, Imama of Ali mentioned in the Quran? Such an important thing must be mentioned in the Quran. So I told him, I will inshallah give you references from the Quran, but before that I have a question. Let us clarify our methodology. If Rasulullah tells you in person that Ali is my successor, would you accept, or you say I don't accept because it's not mentioned in the Quran? If you say I don't accept from you, okay, I don't have anything to discuss with you. If you accept from Rasulullah, that means this logic is wrong, that everything must be mentioned in the Quran. It must be mentioned in the Quran or in the Sunnah. Then he was unhappy and said, you are using aql. Aql says aql. You are using aql. I said, okay, so what? As if I am making a big, crime, You are using aql. I have to use aql. Yes.
Sheikh, now about wilaya for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as imam.
Yeah.
Is that any difference between the wilaya of Rasulullah and wilayat Amir al-Mu'mineen and wilayat Amir al-Mu'mineen? Any difference between wilaya of each imam?
In the political aspect, no. But in spirituality, of course, there's a big difference. But in politics, there's no difference. So we cannot say we obey Rasulullah in 100% of cases, but we obey Imam in 90% of cases. No, we have to obey Rasulullah and Imam in everything that they say. There is no practical difference, although Wilayah of Imam comes from Wilayah of the Prophet, and Wilayah of the Prophet comes from Allah. But for us in practice doesn't make difference. We have to listen to Imam wholeheartedly, completely. We have to listen to Rasulullah. We have to listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although there are lots of differences in different levels of Wilayah.
So, Sheikh, the verse saying, إِنَّمَا وَلِيُّكُمُ اللَّهُ وَالرَّسُولُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا.
Okay.
So it is putting all together. Now, of course, we understand that wilayah to Allah is actually wilayah to Allah comes. I mean, we wouldn't know the wilayah of Allah unless the Prophet ﷺ were there, and we wouldn't know the wilayah to the Prophet unless the Imam were there. So this is
not necessarily. It can be the other way. You know the wilayah of Imam through the Rasulullah.
Yeah, of course.
The people who were in Qadir Khom, how did they know wilayah of Amir al-Mu'minin? They know it through Rasulullah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the reason I am today as I am following the Prophet through the Imams.
Yes.
So that's what I mean, in that sense. For these people.
But why you accepted Imams?
Because of
The
I
Prophet.
have other, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, for example, when you come to the legislation and everything, I follow the Prophet through the Imams, because everything which Imams said.
Yes, but which one has greater position?
Of course, the Prophet.
Like for example, you follow your marja through his wakil. But doesn't mean that wakil has more authority.
No, not more authority. No, I don't mean that.
Yeah.
Sheikhna, when we say, for example, had Allah mentioned Imam Ali by name, or Imam expressly like that in the Quran, then there was a chance of tahrif.
Yeah.
So one could argue against that, as in Allah has vowed to protect the Quran from any tahrif. So why wouldn't He?
So this is one of the methods.
Reasons raised by how we
Why Allah protected the Quran? How? This is one of the methods. Another method is that made Quran easy to remember. لَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ. Easy to remember, yeah? So there are many techniques that Allah has observed. Okay, so Rasulullah must have designated and talked about this issue because of two reasons that we said. So, Imam must be mansus. Now, who are the candidates? We have Amirul Mu'minin, and the second person is the first Khalifa. For Amirul Mu'minin, certainly there is claim of designation, and we have hadith and arguments. But even if we don't have hadith, because we are rationally talking, he has been claimed that he has been designated. Is there any claim that the first caliph has been designated?
Very unusual.
Because the main argument that they say is that Rasulullah left it to people. They say, yes, from some events we can understand Rasulullah loved him, he was, very close, okay? These are things that can be said, but they don't say he was designated. They don't believe in this concept of designation.
They take.
And, pardon?
They state that he was left to pray and lead the people in the prayer after the Prophet, and they say this as a proof.
I'm saying they refer to some events that shows. For example, he was in the cave, but there is no mention of successorship. So,
Did he lead the prayers after the Prophet was ill? Was
No.
he leading the prayers regularly?
No.
That's why it's claimed as well.
no. So, we discuss it here about whether he was designated or not. We say first, لو كان منصوصا عليه, if there was a nas, it was a designation about him, لكان توقيف الأمر على البيعة معصية قادحة في إمامته. Then why you say that Imam becomes Imam after Bay'ah? If Imam is designated by the Prophet or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then whether people do Bay'ah or not, Imam is Imam. Okay? But they say whoever is receiving Bay'ah and is established, then you have to obey him. Secondly, if he was designated, he should have mentioned this. لَا ذَكَرَ ذَلِكَ. He would have said this. And he would have claimed this either when they were in Saqifa, okay? Or when they wanted to give bay'ah to him, not too late. When it was the beginning, he should have said that Rasulullah has designated me. He says, La itra ba'da urs. When the wedding ceremony is finished, then using perfume is not, reasonable. It's too late. If there was a designation, it should have been mentioned. Not that after centuries, people find such things. He should have mentioned this in Saqifa or when they were asking for bay'ah, those few days, they must mention this, not later. Also, he himself said, أَغِيلُونِي فَلَسْتُ بِخَيْرِكُمْ وَعَلِيٌّ فِيكُمْ. He was very honest in his statement. He says, Aqiluni means leave me, or dismiss me, something like this. Leave me, dismiss me. I am not the best of you when Ali is among you. Okay? So, if he was the one that Allah and Rasulullah had selected and appointed and designated, he cannot say to people, dismiss me. People did not choose him, so they cannot dismiss him. This sentence, which we appreciate, this is a good sentence, we appreciate this sentence. We don't have any criticism of this sentence, but we say this by itself shows that he had the idea that he is receiving his authority from people. Therefore, as the same people who gave him authority, dismiss me.
Sheikh, here unfortunately is mentioned only Shia literature. Do we have any Sunni literature source for this?
Yes.
Say?
Yes, it's history. It's not Shia. Shia have quoted, but the easiest thing was for the one commentary, here. But this is from history, from Book of Siyah.
They have something. They said he said that because of humbleness.
Okay.
Which is good. Which is good, we appreciate. لو كان منصوصا عليه. The other thing is that if he was designated, why when he was dying he was concerned, he was doubtful? For example, he says, look at this. يا ليتني كنت سألت رسول الله هل الأنصار في هذا الأمر حق أم لا. I wish I had asked the Prophet, do Ansar, because they denied these two Ansar, so this for Muhajirin. And Ansar, as you know, they wanted for them. Actually, some Ansar first gathered in Saqifa. You know the story? First some Ansar gathered, then the news reached some of Muhajirin. They went there and then they had a dispute. The story is there, Anyway, he says, I wish I had asked myself, Rasulullah, whether Ansar had any right over this issue or not. So maybe he was thinking that maybe it was supposed that they become successors. One of them becomes successor. Fifth, if he was the one that Rasulullah had chosen, of course by the command of Allah, and designated, why when Rasulullah asked people of Medina, his companions, to join the army of Osama, and said, you should join the army of Osama. We are talking about Osama in the time of the Prophet. So why should this happen? If he was going to be successor to the Prophet, this shows that he was not, and actually Rasulullah wanted him to be away. Rasulullah said this. I just read the hadith. نُعِيَتْ إِلَيَّ نَفْسِي وَيُوشَكُ أَنْ أُقْبَضْ. He said, my death is very near, and the reason he gave is that Jibreel every year brings me entire Quran in addition to the gradual revelation. This year, twice, he brought me the Quran. So he took it as a clear sign of he's dying. Because the Prophet, he understands these messages. Then he said, people should go with Osama. And when he saw that they didn't go, he was very unhappy. Even before he had said, لَعْنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ تَخَلَّفَ عَنْ جَيْشِ Osama. Ashar, that's the last thing for this semester. أنه لا واحد من غير علي من الجماعة الذين أدعيت لهم الإمامة يصلح لها. The 6th point is, so we said Imam has to be Mansus first. Second, we said Mansus is either Imam Ali or the first Caliph. Then we said the first Caliph cannot be Mansus, so then Imam Ali has to be Imam because he's the only one who is Mansus. And also, Imam Ali is the one that was not kafir before. Yeah, because La yanalu ahd al-zalimin shows that Imam should not have zulm, and kufr and shirk are zulm. Okay, we stop here, inshallah, with the rest of Imams, and there's a discussion about Imam Zaman. Inshallah, we continue this subject next semester, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.